All right, good evening and welcome to the February 3rd, 2026 meeting of the Hickory City Council. At this time, I would like to ask everyone if they would please silence any electronic devices that you may have. And I would also ask that you stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance right after the invocation. The invocation will be this evening by our Council Ward 5 representative, Ms. Arnita Doolin.
If you'll bow your heads with me. Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come and to share with your people. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to lead your people. We ask you for your wisdom and your guidance. Direct us to do the right thing for all people. Father, we ask you to lead us and direct us in the way you would have us to go. Father, help us to make wise decisions that benefit not just one, but benefit all. Father, we ask you just to be with us again. Father, my prayer tonight is simple. We thank you for safety. We thank you for warmth and comfort. We ask you to remember those who are without, those who are cold, those who are hungry, those who are lonely. Father, help us to be servant leaders. These blessings I ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We have two special presentations this evening. The first, I would like to call forward Ms. Tammy Mueller, Executive Director for Strategic Business Partnerships, Skills USA, and Gary Mueller, the Executive Dean of Economic Development and Corporate Education at Catawba Valley Community College. We've got a special presentation that we would like to make on their behalf. But we always welcome our partners from CVCC. I can recall when it was CVTI. That was many, many years ago. Anybody else remember CVTI? Okay, so there are people in here as old as I am. So we can't thank enough about the partnership and relationship that we've had throughout the years with CVCC and their staff and their students. And of course, we've bragged and talked about them a lot, and Skills USA is certainly a part of that. So we want to take this evening and especially recognize the achievements of CVCC, and not only CVCC, but particularly Skills USA. So I have a proclamation that I would like to read and present, and then if you'd like, I will give you an opportunity to say anything you'd like to say afterwards. So this proclamation says, whereas February 2nd through the 6th, 2026, has been designated by the Skills USA National Association as Skills USA Week. Whereas career and technical education provides students with school-to-careers connection and is the backbone of strong and educated workforce that fosters productivity in business and industry and contributes to leadership in the national and global economies. Whereas career and technical education and Skills USA give high school students empowering experiences in the meaningful application of skills such as reading, writing, mathematics, as well as the development of Skills USA framework skills, including personal skills, workplace skills, and technical skills grounded in academics, thus improving the quality of their education, providing increased motivation to learn, and giving all students leadership opportunity in their career fields, schools, and communities. Whereas career and technical education offers students opportunities to learn skills and to have career experiences that may lead to further education or meaningful employment. And whereas the cooperative efforts of career and technical educators working with businesses and industrial stimulate the vitality of our nation's economy by preparing graduates for careers forecast to experience the largest growth within the next decade. And whereas Skills USA is the #1 workforce development organization for students preparing middle school, high school, and college post-secondary students in technical, skilled, and service career programs to be high-performance workers. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Hank Guest, Mayor of the City of Hickory, on behalf of the Hickory City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of February 2nd through February 6, 2026 as Skills USA Week in the city of Hickory and urge all its citizens to acquaint themselves with the missions of Skills USA and to give support to the members who are working hard to achieve the goals that will make them outstanding, skilled workers in our communities. Dated this 3rd day of February, 2026. Thank you and congratulations. We appreciate you. So we're going to
This recognition means a lot to both our college and our Skills USA program because it truly validates the work that we're doing to prepare and develop students for leadership skills with technical skills, workplace skills, and good service leaders in our community. So we're very honored and we're very appreciative that you took the time to be here tonight, and thank you, Mayor Guest. Everything matters, and at CVCC, we only create champions on our campus, so it really makes sense that, we've partnered with Skills USA, so thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. All right, our second special presentation this evening, I'll invite forward the Executive Director of our Arts and Culture Catawba, Ms. Ingrid Keller. So Ingrid, thank you for being here this evening as well.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you this evening to share some updates. Several weeks ago, I met with Manager Wood, Councilwoman Dula, Kitty Barnes, who's a former county commissioner and a current ACC board member, as is Commissioner Dula. And we discussed our shared goals with the City of Hickory, and I gave some updates on our cultural plan. Next level were the words that Manager Wood used to describe how we're operating now. So we all agreed that I should share some updates with you.
I think it's the one.
Got it. Thank you. So Arts Culture Catawba is proud to serve as the local arts agency for all of Catawba County and as the cultural arm for the City of Hickory. Our mission is to promote, nurture, and fund excellence in individuals and organizations who provide creative experiences that enrich the lives of residents and visitors. Sometimes it's difficult to explain what that means, so we like to provide a couple of examples that can give us all kind of an opportunity to level set. So we serve as the local arts agency. We provide creative resources for creatives. We fund artists and cultural organizations. We offer professional development for the creative sector, promote cultural events, feature local artists, host arts exhibitions, produce the Jingle Bell Bash, host networking for creatives, research and assess cultural industries, and of course, we like the county slogan, make living better. So our partnership with the City of Hickory, we entered into an official partnership with Hickory, actually, and other local governments more than 40 years ago. From the beginning, the goal was coordination, helping the city support arts and culture efficiently and strategically rather than through multiple requests. I'm not sure why my slide did that there on that. Maybe when it transferred over. That's all right. So we have several shared priorities. Today, many of the priorities that you focus on, livability, downtown activity, developing workforce through the attraction of employers and talent, supporting young people, and helping residents feel connected to their community. These are the same priorities that arts and culture helped to develop. When the original per capita benchmark was set, the cultural landscape looked very different. There were 6 funded affiliates, and many nonprofit cultural organizations did not yet exist, including Foot Candle Film Society, the Green Room Community Theater, Newton Depot, Hart Square Foundation, Hickory Music Factory, and Hickory Ballet and Performing Arts. These are all organizations that you're very familiar with and have become, truly institutions also within our community, but they weren't even around when we kind of first started our partnership. So today this ecosystem is a lot larger and it's more complex. Arts Culture Catawba's role has expanded well beyond grant making to include planning, coordination, and organizational support. We have more organizations depending on us for grants and resources. And the need for Arts Culture Catawba to act in organizational roles is a lot greater because our community has higher expectations of us now. This is a quick review, a reminder for most of you. And again, I apologize, I'm not sure why my slides transferred over this way. But in 23-24, we researched a whole countywide cultural plan and we wrote it. And it was funded through a state appropriation, and it gave us an opportunity to take a comprehensive look at how arts and culture are serving residents today. We learned through the 4 surveys that were conducted and that were made up of 3,874 Catawba-based responses, representing 2% of our population and accounted for at least 1% of all zip codes and demographics. We learned a lot. We certainly identified what some of those new opportunities could be and where the gaps were. So this established our 4 strategic priorities, which are expand awareness, reach more residents through strategic partnerships, continually improve arts and culture offerings, and build capacity and investment in the arts and culture sector. Expanding awareness is the first priority for a lot of reasons, but mostly because 40% of the respondents to our survey said that it's difficult to find out what arts and entertainment is happening. So one very practical example of how we've expanded our services is the new Catawba 365 cultural calendar. It's a centralized events calendar that makes it easier for residents and visitors to discover what's happening in Hickory, from downtown events to neighborhood programs, helping increase attendance and activity throughout the city. So we soft-launched with our partners last October, and they have been entering their events, creating profiles, and building their venues, and starting to add their different opportunities through that system. And we've been working with Dana Kaminsky and Mark Seaman and Sarah Green also. We have now a signed MOU with the city where we've established feeds from their calendar systems that will flow into our system. So that means those folks don't have to enter that information. It's going to automatically flow. We're all about efficiency, so we wanted to make sure that we could do that. So that's really exciting, and we're in the process of that development now. We hope that we will come out of this kind of beta phase in May. May 26th is our planned public launch, where we're really going to start widely promoting this calendar to the public as really a fully functioning, useful tool. We're also investing in the strength of our cultural organizations themselves. Professional development, of course, helps them operate more sustainably, deliver stronger programs, and be better stewards of both public and private funds. So we've had several sessions on marketing, finance, and fundraising, just to name a few. Our next one coming up is on Friday, February the 13th, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We're partnering with United Way and several other organizations to present a workshop about board governance. That sounds really exciting, but it's much needed. I'm sure most of you who serve on boards could agree. This first half, actually, it's going to be kind of fun. The first half is going to be a live podcast recorded. The panel is made up of community members with a variety of different experiences working on nonprofits, and it's moderated by Mac Jane Creighton from Appalachian State University, who's over the nonprofit program there. And then the second half of it is group interactive board simulations. So it's an opportunity where we're going to have people actually test out some scenarios that have happened in this community with nonprofits, and then learn the best way to respond and act in those different situations. So I invite you all to join us for this, and we certainly hope that you'll share this with the boards that you're a part of. This is very important training. If you look at your boards now that you're serving on or that you see around the community, I bet you half of them are new board members at this point, right? So we want to make sure that they've got the training and the confidence to do more than just serve their nonprofits with good intentions. They need the knowledge and all of that as well. We are also launching a new arts and health initiative. This uses arts participation as a tool to address social isolation. This is a partnership with Catawba County Public Health, and it will build towards the creation of a social referral guide that can be used by more medical partners and the general public. So social isolation was an issue that was identified in the community health assessment with Catawba County Public Health, and it was, of course, also in our surveys that we did in the cultural plan as well. So by connecting our residents with free arts experiences, we're hoping that we can support well-being while also bringing new people into Hickory's cultural spaces. So one of our goals as part of this is to normalize arts participation as a community health strategy. And you can see the neighborhoods that we're focusing on are the ones that Catawba County Public Health identified in their health assessment as areas with low health outcomes. So we want to see some difference made in that. And another brand new initiative, this year on March 16th, we are launching the inaugural Arts Education Summit. We're working closely with all three school systems, of course Hickory City Schools included, to support educators directly while building stronger connections between our schools and local cultural organizations. We'll have a representative from the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction that will provide updates on new curriculum standards to make sure the teachers understand what those are, because there's brand new standards that were implemented just this year in the arts. We will also be expanding our previously Theater Arts Grant Award to award some small grants to teachers of all different disciplines who are employing some innovative ideas to connect with their students. And the part that's really great, our cultural organizations will also have information set up at their at tables to provide teachers with information and resources that exist right here in our community. So new teachers moving into our community can kind of come to one thing and get right connected into all the different cultural resources that are here and available to them. And so as you begin your budget discussions this year, I wanted to provide some context for you. Our request this year reflects, yes, inflation, but really it's more about the expanded scope of work, which is next level, to use Warren's words again there. It's not a sudden change, right? We've suggested a phased approach that's designed to really be predictable and responsible for the city, that should reach a target that will bring all of our municipalities back on equal footing. So these initiatives really are already benefiting the citizens of Hickory. Stable, predictable support will allow us to plan responsibly and continue aligning our work with what the city goals are. So I thank you for your time and your consideration this evening. We really appreciate our partnership with the city of Hickory, long-standing, more than 40 years at this point, we appreciate that you all invest and consider culture and arts to be such an important part of your infrastructure. So I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions for Ingrid?
I have one. Your influence spans beyond Hickory. You know, you're regional, basically. Do you have other arrangements, funding arrangements with other municipalities in the area, and are they equivalent to ours?
Thank you for asking that. So yes, we request $1 per capita from each municipality, and currently we are receiving we request $1.25 per capita from each community, and we are currently receiving $1.25 from 5 of the municipalities, from Catawba County and the city of Hickory. We have been receiving $1 per capita. And our request this year was the phased approach to go up kind of 5 cents over the course of 5 years to reach that $1.25, because we realize that it's a bigger request with larger populations. We've recommended a phased approach both with the Catawba County this year and with the city of Hickory.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Any other questions for Ingrid? Ingrid, I don't have a question. I just want to thank you and your staff for your leadership and for their various roles throughout the arts and culture community. It's not unusual for us to hear from people that are considering moving to Hickory that a lot of their consideration and a lot of the reasons some of them move here is because of the vibrant arts and cultural community that's been established here in Hickory. So it does make a difference. And I do believe that that's important, and not only for the folks that live here, but for the folks that are considering moving here. So once again, we want to thank you for the partnership that we've experienced over the last 40 years, and we're looking forward to the future.
40.
That's what I said. The last 40.
Oh, you said 4.
No, the last 40. I said 40. The last 40 years, and we're looking forward to continuing that partnership. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. All right, next on the agenda is persons requesting to be heard. We always allow an opportunity at the beginning of every council meeting for those who would like to be heard to have the opportunity to do so. We allow up to 3 minutes for an individual to speak. We just ask that you approach the podium and that for the record you state your name and address, and we have that to where we can contact you if we need to. So at this time, I would ask Ms. Kristen Coffey to the podium.
Hello, my name is Kristen Coffey. I live at 1536 Main Avenue Drive, Northwest, Hickory, North Carolina. I'm 43 years old. I started skateboarding with my son 4 years ago. Since then, I've traveled to skate parks over North and South Carolina, and it's been a lot of fun. And some of the things that I noticed at these skate parks that I thought were successful or things that we could use here also would be like a versatile skate park, one that can house like skateboarders, roller skaters, inline skaters, people who ride scooters, BMX bikers. Also a skate park that has lights, so especially in the winter months when there's not as much daylight that people can be out. Restrooms, and then also cameras. A couple of skate parks have cameras for security. Also for people who are commuting, they can check the cameras to see if the weather is appropriate. And then concrete skate parks I've found are better for a wide range of skaters and bikers, and it's because there's a cleaner transition. There's less maintenance. I know some of the parks here have been a lot more to take care of. Some of the things that I think are great in bringing the community together with skate parks are, one, there's apps now where people can map out traveling to different cities and even across the world to go to skate parks. And I think that would bring more people here. And then there's the opportunity for camps and classes, events, even like professional events. I mean, you bring in the BMX and then skateboarding events. And then on a daily basis, you have just friendships, working together as a community, building your skills. Also, we have a local skate shop now. It's called Solid Skate Co. It's owned by Eric Bywaters, and he's in contact with the community regularly. And there is interest in wanting to raise money for a skate park that could encompass all of these things. One of my favorite skate parks is in Mooresville. It's a cement skate park. Also has the cameras. I've seen birthday parties there, families. I've seen roller skaters, and just met people have even said, "Hey, I'm coming here." I saw it. I saw it on this app, and we're looking at it. And so then also Apex in Raleigh and Statesville.
Okay. Were you finished, Kristen?
That's pretty much it.
Okay, all right. I was going to offer to extend your time if you wouldn't, but we appreciate that.
I'm
Thank you.
wondering how that was going to go. I'll just tell you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, Melissa Napier.
Mayor, before we receive the next citizen, I don't know if this is her first time approaching the city council, but I don't know if she ever spoken to one of the city officials one-on-one or any of the city staff, but if someone can certainly relate to her,
Sure.
whatever her
Mark,
concerns
maybe.
may be.
Mark Seaman, maybe.
Yeah, if you could see, raise your hand, Mark,
Raise your hand. Yeah.
about your topic, and y'all can walk out there and discuss it a little bit.
Yes, and he won't bite.
Yeah. I think they've talked. They can talk again. I know they've had some conversations.
Mark was looking for a reason to get out of here anyway. All right, I'm sorry, Ms. Napier.
Good evening. My name's Melissa Napier, and I live at 1549 10th Street Place in Hickory, Northwest. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I wanted to discuss my thoughts on the resolution that was being proposed for election changes. I wanted to say that I do appreciate the goals that are set behind the resolution, and I appreciate the desire to be both fiscally responsible and also have a goal of wanting more residents to participate in local elections. My request tonight is modest. I'm just asking that the council pause before sending a charter change to the state, just to give it some more time and thought. One of the main arguments for the proposal is to increase voter turnout, which again, I'm a fan of. Our last municipal election had a turnout of around 16%, and I agree that's not good enough. But I think it's important to recognize that as a city, we have never actively encouraged residents to vote in municipal elections. We already communicate regularly with residents through the monthly city snippets, e-newsletters, and we have a Facebook page that's very active. In this past year, none of these channels were used in order to encourage or inform citizens of the upcoming municipal elections. These tools already exist. There would be no additional funding required to incorporate messaging like this to our citizens, and we just haven't tried that approach. So before we amend the city charter, I think it's reasonable to ask what would happen if we just increased our communication with the electorate and let them know what's at stake and why these things matter. Another concern that I have is that this proposal could inadvertently affect representation and consistency. As it's been described, some seats on council would fall during a presidential election that has a voter turnout in our city of around 75%, where the rest of the seats would fall under a midterm, which is more around 40-45% on average over the past couple of terms. This means that equally important local offices could be decided by very different electorates, simply based on the timing. If increasing participation is our goal, I think it's also worth considering whether that kind of built-in imbalance, although unintentional, would serve the city well. Our current standalone elections do have a cost, but they also have a value. They keep local issues from being overshadowed by state and national politics, and they allow residents to focus specifically on city governance. I do want to emphasize that a change to our charter would also be very lasting and difficult to undo if these unintended consequences were to arise. That alone, to me, suggests a consideration of a pause to give this more time to try other effects to increase voter participation and to allow more people to have input and consideration. 3 minutes. Wonderful. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Park Inglefield.
Hello, good evening. My name is Park Inglefield. I live at 510 11th Avenue Place Northwest in Hickory. I'm here tonight to speak against the resolution to move Hickory's municipal elections to even-numbered years. And I want to be clear about what's at stake and what concerns me. First, holding our elections in even-numbered years means, as Melissa mentioned, bearing them under national and state races. We might save a small amount of money, but at what cost? When voters are focused on presidential or gubernatorial contests, city council and mayoral races get lost in the noise. Ineffective representatives will coast on partisan coattails instead of being judged on their actual performance. Our local elections have the greatest impact on our daily lives, our roads, our water, our neighborhoods. Why would we want less attention on the races that matter the most to our community? Second, this resolution didn't come from our elected officials. Mr. Wood, you have expressed that you alone decided that this move is necessary. So I need to ask, when did we elect the city manager to set our policy agenda? I've spoken to hundreds of residents about the changes they want to see for Hickory. Not one person mentioned the need to change our election schedule. This isn't responding to community priorities. This is a decision that will fundamentally weaken our local democracy. And third, where was the public input? Raleigh formed a 6-month commission to study a similar proposal. 6 months, and we've gotten 2 weeks' notice, and that's only for those who are paying close attention. There's been no study, no public forum, and no real opportunity for residents to weigh in. And finally, I want to talk about accountability, because the way this resolution has come to be gives the impression that the city manager sits at the top of the organizational chart, not the citizens of Hickory, not the mayor, not even you on city council. This past election, Hickory residents sent a clear message for transparency, accountability, and responsive leadership. Rushing an idea that would drastically impact our elections completely unprompted and without public input moves us in the opposite direction. The citizens of Hickory deserve better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council this evening? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Lynn Dorfman. I live at 102 20th Avenue Northwest. I commend the comments from the two previous speakers, and I just wanted to remind the group there's an old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. When it comes to this resolution, I would say, if it ain't broke, don't break it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council? Come forward, please.
Hi, Bob Post, 1006 12th Avenue Northwest. Voter turnout has been one of the reasons given for wanting to move the local elections from odd years to even years. City Manager Wood, you mentioned 2023 in your presentation a few weeks ago at the last meeting. You mentioned the 4% turnout there. You mentioned 18%, 16%, I think I heard, in 2025. What we didn't talk about, and what you didn't talk about, was that that's a over 300% increase from 2023 to 2025. So I'd like to just take a moment to understand why that is. In 2025, we had 5 people that ran for Ward 5 council seat, a very competitive primary and election. We had 2 candidates, 2 great candidates running for mayor, very contrasting candidates, and a very competitive race. So if we want to increase voter turnout, we need more people to show up. We can't have uncontested elections. Nobody wants to come to those. How do we grow it further? Okay, you said that people are confused, maybe tired from odd year elections. I don't believe that. I think what people really are busy. People don't necessarily know that the election is occurring. So can the city help? One of the prior speakers mentioned, can we post things on the city Facebook page? Can we put things into the newsletter and just let people know, where do I go? When do I go? Can we have early voting hours that are outside of working time? Those types of things, if we really want to improve voter turnout. We could just hit the easy button, move this to the even years, but that does not lead to a quality city council. You are a quality city council. If you have voters in the even years, they're not going to know you any better than if they're voting in the odd years. There will be a whole lot of people that'll just mark something on the ballot without really getting to know you or knowing the issues. So let's keep the quality council. We've had a process for decades that has allowed us to focus on local issues, and that has led to you, a quality city council. What do I mean by quality? I see a range of backgrounds here. I see law enforcement background, I see pastors, I see law backgrounds, I see quality people, I see diversity, I see you representing a wide spectrum of communities here in the city. I see people that have personally responded to me, that have helped me. Jill has been out with me on cold days walking up and down the road and crossing the road. You are a quality group. Why? Why would we risk that and throw that away and hitch ourselves to elections that are increasingly divided, mean-spirited, and have power over service? I just want to leave it with a quote from Councilman Freeman's mother. You said this a few weeks ago. You said, and I think it's very applicable to this today. You know what it is?
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
I say a lot. I'm a
So
preacher.
this would be dangerous.
She said,
If it wasn't your mother that said it, I'd be concerned.
she said it's okay to watch the circus, but don't join the circus. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Come forward, please.
My name is Kevin Sparks. I live at 445 43rd Avenue Northwest, Hickory, North Carolina. First, I really appreciate the flexibility in allowing people to jump up and speak relatively spontaneously as I am now. This is part of the joy of living in a small town. Part of the difficulty of living in a small town is sometimes we don't always have what we want. I don't think anyone is going to speak in favor of low voter turnout. It's a problem. So there is something not working. Objectively speaking, I think we want higher voter engagement, not just higher voter turnout. And I would respectfully suggest, if there was a body, I don't mean to be sarcastic, this body is responsible for the way the city runs. Take responsibility and set a goal for this council over the next period of time. Y'all decide. 3 years, I don't care. We will work to improve voter turnout and engagement over the next N years. Draw up a strategic plan. Here are the steps we will take. Here is why we believe these steps will make this difference. Rather than what feels to me as an utter outside observer as a three-point shot from the center line. We hope if we make this change, turnout will increase. Is there any evidence that engagement will increase? I submit that there is no evidence whatsoever. As Mr. Post spoke, I fear that what we will have is deeper divisiveness when we can go exactly the other way and have a tight-knit community pulling together under the leadership of this esteemed body. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council this evening? Come forward, please.
Is it okay if I use my phone to read off of?
Yes, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Dylan Kowalski. I live at 2328 Fifth Ave Southwest here in Hickory. I came here with only one agenda, but I will speak on two real quick. I don't really know much about the election years being moved other than what I learned my first meeting 2 weeks ago. But I can say from what everyone said today, they kind of sound like they know what they're talking about. That's all I'm going to say on that topic. Because I don't know what the topic is, but I can say they know what they're talking about. What I'm here to talk about is I moved here 5 years ago to be closer to my family. I've driven all over this country, and in 15 years of driving and cross-country traveling, I have never seen driving as egregious as is here in Hickory. I've spent years researching how to make travel not only more efficient, but safer. I've exhausted all my efforts over the phone and email, and now I'm here to talk about this matter in person. I've spoken to HPD, NCPD, NCSHP, DOT, DOH, GHSP, and the DMV, and many others. I've gotten absolutely nowhere with these departments. I'm tired of fighting for my life just to get home from work. This has to be addressed sooner than later, as I'm running out of options for help and sanity, as well as options to help mitigate my problems. I'm asking as a citizen of this city you elected to run to please hear my cry and please do something to fix these issues. I have graphs and years of research readily available, as well as many solutions. I also have many credentials to be speaking on what I am today, and will be happy to discuss them further after this meeting. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And if you don't already know our chief of police, he's here, and perhaps after the meeting, you can have a few minutes and make some arrangements to discuss it further.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right, is there anyone else that would like to address the council this evening? Okay. As always, we make ourselves available. You don't have to wait until a council meeting to be able to address us, and we just want to make sure everybody understands that. All right, next item on the agenda is the approval for our minutes from our regular meeting of January 20, 2026. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? That carries unanimously. Item number 7 is our reaffirmation ratification on second reading. Once again, I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? That also carries unanimously. Item number 8 is our consent agenda. I'll ask if there's any member of staff or council that would like to have any items removed from the consent agenda this evening.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? That carries unanimously. All right, we have 2 departmental reports this evening. To introduce our first departmental report, I'll turn it over to our city manager, Mr. Warren Wood.
Thank you, Mayor Guest, Member of City Council, Mr. Swanson. The first departmental report is consideration of a resolution changing the City of Hickory's mayor council elections to even-numbered years. So at your last city council meeting, you directed me to come up with a resolution that you could consider to present to our legislative delegation that would change the election years from odd to even-numbered years. That was the essence of the direction that I received. I laid out some facts behind that. I'll do that again tonight. So again, you're not voting on this if you were to, and just like I said at the last meeting, you can pass on it or decline it, you can approve it, you can amend it, you can take no action. So there's no recommendation on what you do with this other than it's just the information. So, so it's contained in your packet. So the background information on this in terms of its origins starts, so I'm going to talk about accountability too, starts with the last election and the perceived or real issue of partisan party politics being inserted into the election process, which got a reaction from another party and a threat that they were going to lobby to create a situation to where all municipal elections in Catawba County would be partisan. The comment I heard, fine, if people are going to insert party politics into a non-partisan process, we'll work to make the whole thing partisan. So that was during the election. So staff just started, and I know the consensus of city council is you want to keep your elections nonpartisan. That is a priority. But we had that threat hanging over our head. So I just want to remind everybody that that was what started all this. So from that point, we started looking into, you don't have many options. The legislature can do what it wants to do if they were convinced that that was what needed to happen. We started looking and seeing what some other cities had done. And one of those things was keeping their elections nonpartisan, but almost splitting it in half, making it keep going to even years. So you're not getting the partisan, you're having to change so trying to work with the legislators and the other group and trying to craft some sort of possible compromise to that. So, well, then we got this. So this is a bill from Catawba County for this past year's election for $75,000. So, and there's an additional bill from Burke County for additional $10,000. So the numbers up there, so we have 30,000 eligible voters in Hickory. There were 4,800 ballots cast with a 16% turnout rate. So you do the math on that. Number one, so then 2 other issues came to the forefront. Number one, the low voter turnout in addition to the partisanship issue. And number 2, the cost. So now there were 3 things related to this issue, so we started digging more into the whole even year election process, and this is the point at which we started at least informally talking to city council about, you want to keep your elections nonpartisan, here's a way you might be able to thread the needle, and eventually this legislature may make all municipal elections in the state partisan, but right now that's not the case. So if you look at our comparative turnout numbers in Hickory, so the general election turnout, again, 48.57 in the last election, which is 16%. 2024 election, Hickory, you had 22,282 voters for a 74% turnout rate. And then you can see going back to the 2023 election, 1,172, which is a 4% vote. I don't think anybody, which was, your most recent turnout was 4 times better than the election in 2023. And then you can see the 2022 election turnout, again, on those even year elections when you have county seats, state seats, and federal seats up. So that's a pretty stark difference in election turnout, to say the least. And plus, the cost is the same whether your turnout is high or low. So that was another issue that was uncovered. So we looked at all the cities in towns, municipalities in North Carolina that have moved to even-year municipal elections. So there's 61 of them so far that have moved to even-year elections. The rest of them are still on odd years. 41 of those have moved since 2020. So there is a trend of more and more cities moving to even-year elections. So I think a question was asked at the last meeting about moving to partisan. Of the 61, one of those went to even-year and partisan at the same time, and that was the city of Monroe. I don't know the backstory behind that. 3 of the 61 already had partisan elections before moving to even year. And you've got to work with the terms to get on, council's terms to get on the even year. So of the 61, 58 had a year added to the terms, 3 had a year subtracted. So, and maybe if Hickory did this, would be the anomaly, we wouldn't see this, but the average municipal election voter turnout for these cities increased 300% between their last odd year and their first even year. That's a drastic difference. And again, the cost for us is the same as high voter turnout versus low voter turnout. So in even year elections, based on what we've seen in the other cities that have done this, significantly higher turnout, the elections would coincide with the state, county, federal elections, eliminating duplication. Simplified voting calendar. Now your primaries would move to March. Right now they're in October, so there's, you got a short span between the primary and the general election. This would be a much longer span. And terms one way or another would have to be temporarily adjusted to achieve the even year cycle. So on the cost considerations, again, it was about $75,000. That didn't include Burke County. And municipalities cover 100% of the cost of their odd year elections because the county doesn't have any elections in odd years. So the savings, at least potential savings, and this would be the costs that are associated with running the polling sites. Employees, supplies, setup, takedown, because the county on even year is already doing that. Now they may change the formula, but the way it stands right now, the county already has cooked into the cake all the running the polling in their election budget. And in our 2025 municipal election, so those costs related to running the polling sites accounted for about 80% of our total election expense, or about $60,000. I'm not saying what's going to be saved or not saved. I'm just saying if you do that math, that's what you come up with, and that doesn't include Burke County. So the resolution itself, contained in your packet, specifies only that you would request to be changed to the even year election cycle. That's the only request you're making in terms of a change, with, quote, with no other changes being requested. So we were advised, don't even mention the word we want to remain nonpartisan. Just say you don't want anything else changed. Does that make sense? Because you bring that partisan issue out, and then like I said last time, a light bulb goes off and somebody said, well, maybe we should make it partisan. And if people keep putting R's and D's beside people's names on Facebook and other places, talking about accountability as recently as today, that does not help, because we have nonpartisan elections, and if people perceive us as being partisan, then you're going to get the other side again saying, fine, we'll just go ahead and make you partisan. So there's your accountability. So the resolution, again, states moving to even year elections. It requests legislation be introduced in the North Carolina General Assembly. This would be a local bill to amend the city's charter to move the city's municipal elections to even years. It does not request the addition of a year to sitting council members' terms or taking away a year. The legislature they'll decide. Typically, you're given a year, but you're not requesting one either way, other than it will be implemented in an orderly fashion in terms of the transition. But something has to give with the terms in order to get on the even year election cycle. So there's a resolution. Again, it's in your packet. But so my recommendation was to bring forward a resolution for your consideration. You can turn it down, you can approve it, you can amend it. You don't have to take any action. It's your choice on what you would like to do.
Warren, can you address the issue of the time constraint? I've heard delay, wait a few years. but there is a timing issue with the
Yeah,
legislature.
so April 21st is the date that local bills can be submitted. So and then there'll be a window where that closes, and then you would miss that opportunity. But that's when it does open. If this were approved, we would take it to our legislative delegation. We've already met with them before, go over it again, make sure everything's squared away, and then it would be up to them, or one of them, to submit a bill. And typically the way it works, so the governor can't veto local bills, but generally if the local delegation is in favor of a local bill for their area, it typically passes.
Warren, can you expound on the resolution? Whenever I'm signing anything, if it's something for me that I need clarity on, I don't mind asking. I can understand the greater voter turnout participation and certainly create a election cycle clarity for voters, but can you expound on the improvement of administrative efficiency?
That is gained primarily, so Hickory represents, so there's in the municipalities, Hickory has, there's 52 registered voters in the cities and towns in Catawba County. We're 30,000 of those. So there's efficiency gained with the elections board because we're such a big piece of what they have to administer, particularly with the primaries. So if the primaries were moved in line with the even years, there's efficiency for them gained there. And then we're such a big chunk of the municipal workload that they have in the odd years moving to the even years creates a level of efficiency. The most efficient thing would be for the whole county to move in terms of the municipalities. And we're not asking for, we're just asking for us. And I have spoken with all the managers. I'm not giving any guarantees on anybody, any other municipalities coming on board, but my inclination is, I know one, I believe, has already had some public discussions about it. I would not be surprised if there were others that got added to the bill, and that's the way it works. If a bill was submitted on Hickory's behalf, others can be asked to join it. And it doesn't even have to be somebody from Catawba County. It could be a jurisdiction from another county altogether. But there will be efficiencies that are gained in administering elections due to the big bulk of voters that we have, and then we have the primaries and many more precincts than most communities.
There's a lot to unravel here. I've spent numerous hours over the past couple of weeks looking at this, and I'm not going to go through all this because I'll bore everybody to tears, but there are some things that need to be addressed. There's some misinformation that needs to be addressed that's going on out there, and it's being passed along by some people that should know better. So we're going to clarify a little bit. The thought that this is being driven by our city manager is wrong. It's categorically wrong. The city manager has a statutory duty to set the agenda for city council and to bring matters to our attention that he deems expedient, meaning in the best interest of the city. So there's been a lot of people out there jaw-jacking, saying that unelected officials are set, they're driving this process. That is not the case. We make the decision. I want to be perfectly clear on that. The statute is North Carolina General Statute 160A-148. So let's put that to rest. This is a city council decision whether to pass this resolution. Then it's up to the state. When this started, it never occurred to me that there would be anybody opposed to more widespread voter participation. I've been shocked by the response. And we've heard the words accountability and transparency numerous times over the past several weeks. Well, I can tell you there is no transparency in some of what's being said in the opposition to this decision. There's an agenda. Some people have an agenda, and they're pushing it forward, and in the next sentence talking about transparency. Wider voter participation enhances accountability. It makes the electorate look more like the city we serve. I don't see an argument with that. I can't imagine an argument with that unless you have an agenda. Yet that's the foundation of democracy. Representative democracy. That's what this is about. like, attempts to hijack elections and, say that you value nonpartisan councils, but yet play partisan politics. That is how we got here. Now, where is the transparency? This is a good thing. I want to be elected by a wide participating electorate. I don't want to be elected by 3%. So this isn't game playing by a council. This is trying to get people out to vote. People have, it's a right for people to vote, and they can voluntarily, they also have the right to voluntarily not vote. But having obstacles in the way, whatever those obstacles might be, whether it's inconvenience, they have to work, they have to take care of their children, we have a responsibility to remove those obstacles. That's what this does. It gets people to the polls. And the idea that this is somehow a problem because the ballot's going to be longer, that is like being on a sinking ship and refusing to get on the lifeboat because the seat's damp. It will deal with that problem. Nothing would thrill me more than to have 55% participation and people coming to us asking us how we can streamline the ballot. That is a problem that we would invite right now, given the participation numbers. So, this has been a frustrating situation with the misinformation that has been put out there about this. I do not appreciate the attacks on our city manager, and it needs to stop. So that's what I have to say.
And I want to follow up, I want to follow up on the attacks and directing towards our manager. As he said, he has a responsibility to see trends, see what's going on, and be responsible and bring things as recommendations. And recommendations from our city manager have been as simple, the annual budget. It's been the aviation museum information, partnering with Burke County and our airport. He brings lots of recommendations that staff has taken the time to research. They bring it to us, we discuss it, he presents it, and it is, as you said, it is our decision. And odd year municipal elections routinely produce low turnout. And if our desire is to increase participation, then even years make it. And I am like you, Mr. Wood. I cannot understand saying, I don't want more people voting. It is beyond belief that people cannot accept that if you have low participation in people you want to vote for, then you have a problem. It's up to you to get out and do it. And that if the goal is greater participation, the solution is straightforward. Even year elections, odd years don't work. And our system was designated for voters, not for political parties. For those reasons, I support keeping municipal elections nonpartisan and moving them to even-numbered years, because democracy works the best when more citizens participate and vote.
I will say that there's been a push overall by parties to make elections, in various elections, partisan. We see it in school board elections. We see it in other elections as well. So the thought that moving to an even number year, there won't be absolutely no association with particular parties, I think is not accurate. I would like to know, have any of the cities that moved been consulted, talked to? How did it go when they made the change? I see a list of 61 cities, and I'm not against increased voter participation, but that comes from getting out and meeting with people, pounding the pavement, talking to people, and as the gentleman in the audience said, getting people engaged. So I understand the desire to increase voter turnout, but I do think there's a legitimate concern that maybe inadvertently it will be associated with partisanship because of the national issues that will be put forth. And then half the council during the off-cycle years will not have the same push or same turnout during midterms. I think that creates some type of imbalance as well. So I'm not sure why there is a need to do it now, why there's the push, why there is the urgency. Council has been dealing with low turnout for years. Why now? Would be my question. Why now? And then the other question, will we actually save money if there are primaries in these elections? Those costs will still have to be borne by our taxpayers, correct? That won't be accounted for in the general election. So if there are primaries, will not the city incur those costs, have to incur those costs as well?
I'm gonna.
Well, I wish I went first, but I guess I just fall in line. This process right here has been very exhausting. And I don't like being in this position, but we have to deal with the tough stuff, the hard stuff. And let me say that it's difficult because what do you do when you hear the concerns of the citizens, as well as dealing with your own internal convictions as a leader and making sure you make the best decision possible as it relates to the city that you serve or the community that you serve. This has been exhausting, and so I just can only, once again, reveal my heart in all of this, is that, first of all, when I was appointed on this city council, then I had to run unopposed to fulfill the remaining of the 2 years. I heard nothing about Democrats, heard nothing about Republicans, independents. However, and we just need to be honest, it was in this last election, Republicans and Democrats started rising to the surface. I've learned as a pastor and from other leaders, the primary goal, whether it's an organization, political affiliation, has always been get out the voters. And I have statistics right in front of me that I cannot act like I don't see it. I don't have to go down the whole list, but our neighboring city, Asheville, did this from 2015 and from 6,000 voters to 25,000 voters when they went to an even year. I can't ignore that, nor can I ignore the concerns of the citizens. And I'm glad I didn't call any of my colleagues on this city council. But let me just say it as this. If you ever want to check, I'm not Republican, I'm not Democrat. I'm registered as unaffiliated. And I wish, in my ideal world, but I know it's not going to be yours, that we should start registering as unaffiliated. Because what's happening is, I know, I'll say it, what's going on at the top is affecting us here in the local area. And listen, I never dreamt that I will be a part of politics. By God, when I was 14, 15, junior high, high school, when I started taking political science, you think I cared about politics? I wanted to play basketball, baseball, and football. But I'm going to be honest with both parties. First of all, when I was young and not even understanding politics, I can tell from Ronald Reagan to this point, the Republicans have certainly lost its way. And if you don't think so, you must be real misinformed than anything. And the Democrats are following in the same steps and in the process of losing their way. Why? because now they want to do whatever is necessary just to make sure they beat the Republicans. And who suffers in the middle, in the crosshairs, are the people. And let me say this, every Republican is not righteous, every Democrat is not a demon, every independent is certainly not insane. And if we want to talk about, if we change it to even years, I've been taught and I had to learn. Don't you dare just go into the polls and just push all Democrats or all Republicans. There's a reason why our Constitution was based upon the fact that there's supposed to be checks and balances. Judicial, executive, legislative. Why? So that there's balance. When you got more Democrats in a place, you ought to be concerned. When you got more Republicans in a place, you ought to be concerned. It's showing now. If I'm going to vote, I want to vote to be able to vote for the individuals. And listen, I've been taught this, all politics is evil, but you got to learn to vote the lesser evil. And I always vote, who cares about the least of these? Now here we are, we don't know how good we have it. When was the last time the city of Hickory had 2 African Americans? I never asked Charlotte what her nationality is. I can take a guess. Asian. 3 women, 3 men on the council. And that's diversity at its best. At its best. I've been taught to get out the vote. I can't ignore. My question is, if this is not what we're doing, then what are we doing? If it's not to increase, no, and let me say this, it's not to put Republicans at an advantage, not to put Democrats at a disadvantage. We all have the same playing field. And I would think that people are intelligent and brilliant enough to be informed enough to start from federal to state to county to citywide to say, hey, I'm not going to push all tickets just because they're Democrats. That's why I'm glad I don't have a Democrat party whispering in my ear. I don't have a Republican party whispering to my ear. It's my conviction, what's right, and I can't ignore what I see. Then, when I first was appointed, I had to do some studying. The city of Hickory is the first, I believe I read it somewhere, the first city in the state of North Carolina that started the structure of mayor and city manager. I believe, I read it somewhere, 1913. Warren, I'm not tooting my horn, works for me. I'm sorry I had to say that, Warren.
But he knows.
Warren works for me. But he's there for his expertise, his knowledge, and all he does is give us recommendations. My struggle is when you put us all in one category and you put words out there as if, this is just how the city council is. This is just how the local government is. I believe there's people in these seats that really care about people. I hate being in this predicament because I hear your concerns. And I know the guy just brought up whatever I say will be used against me. Don't worry, I get that in church and at home. But I can't ignore what I see. And if it's not about voter turnout, then what are we doing? I believe, and I had one email, she's a doctor, she appreciated, I appreciate what she wrote. She said, vote no, but if in case you guys vote for it, take responsibility as local officials. But she stopped there, but I need to go further. It's not just our responsibility, it's organizations, it's political affiliations, it's churches, community leaders. You have to inform people how to become an educated voter. Please, I guess the old adage saying, don't tell me I can't chew gum and walk at the same time. I think people are brilliant enough to be able to do that. But we've been taught, and I believe we ought to teach other people, do not vote straight ticket. Know who you're voting for. That's why I wish I went first.
Well, I think that's an admirable goal, a lofty goal. The reality is people will vote straight ticket. That's just the reality.
Can I just interject, since I haven't said anything? So I've been on school board and 2 local entities that were nonpartisan. And it does make a difference not to have a D or an R beside your name, because I did try the run for county commission, and I had people come up to me straight to my face saying, "You're good, you were great on school board, I like you, but I can't vote for you because you have that D next to your name." So that is an issue, and I feel so strongly about keeping our group nonpartisan so we can really get the work done without getting into these issues. And generally, locally, we don't have a lot of partisan issues. But I have to piggyback and say, when Ward came to us, and this isn't just a 2-week thing, and Arnita hasn't been on the council as long, he came to us with this, with all the facts, and said, but you don't even have to listen to it. I mean, if you don't want to do it, just don't jump on it. So it really did come from the council. And as everybody says, that's what he does. He brings us best practices, what's happening around the state, other municipalities, and we jumped on it. And my conviction is, yes, if it brings more people out, that shows and that we are legitimately elected by a greater number of people. We were in the year where we had 3 or 4%.
Yeah.
I mean, I was embarrassed almost. And if you dissected who came out to vote, it was really just the same people, the same small group of people. So I'm for this mainly to expand, to really get more participation. On the flip side, we're hearing what you're saying, and I feel the same way. We need to do more to engage people, not just get the numbers out, but to engage people. And I think there were some suggestions. The city itself could do more. Board of Elections could do more. League of Women Voters tries, but we could expand to other organizations. So I think we need to take what's being said and not just say it's our camp against another camp, but really incorporate what this process has given us.
Any other council members have comments they would like to make?
Well, I got a question, too, about the ballot itself. It's going to be longer if you have all your elections on at the same time. It'll take longer to vote. If you do it right and you want to read the names, do your homework before you go vote. It's hard to make your mind up when you're there just reading names. But I've often said, too, the local form of government is the best form for the people. You come and you can speak to us individually just about any time you want. With phone calls, emails, and all that. Whereas on the national level, what happens up there don't affect their daily lives all as much as what we do. It does in the long run, but as far as it goes. So I think, why not have the municipal people listed first on the ballot? What's wrong with changing that? Is there some rule that says the president has to be first?
There actually is. I dug into this. Yeah.
Where is that?
Let's change
So I
that.
did look into this, and
I'm glad.
the priority goes to partisan elections first, and nonpartisan municipal comes last, second to last, and referendums are last, or referenda are last. So there is a rule.
There's a precedent.
Sorry, yeah. So, yeah.
That sounds like a monumental task to do that.
Like I said, I think that's a problem that I would invite if we were getting 45, 55% turnout. We'll tackle that when we get there. But right now, I think the pressing issue is getting an electorate that is widespread enough to reflect the community that we serve.
And, things came to mind as I was reading all the emails, and I did read all the emails that everybody got, I think, because everybody shared them. It's just crazy with all the things going on that you just got to, make your mind up that you're going to pay attention to what's going on. But the thing is, people come to the national elections, big elections, the partisan elections to vote. They knew to come. I mean, of course, it's blasted everywhere all the time, day in, day out, and municipal ones are not. So, there needs to be more, I guess, advertising what's going on with the government at the local level. Don't just wait till you have a problem to contact us. So, I agree that, we got to get more people voting. Somebody sees 3% of the people came out to vote.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that sounds like voter suppression at its greatest. If you can squash down to 3% of the people get out to vote, you have really done the job of suppression.
That's not suppression, Danny.
Well,
That's just people choosing not to participate.
Okay.
Suppression is very different.
Yeah,
So,
I
there's
think
a lot of education to go on. I mean, that's what it could be taken as. I'm not saying it was. I mean, I don't think anybody was out there saying, don't go vote because it's just a local election.
Well, I believe that our people will be able to see to it that our city elected officials and our policymakers of the city of Hickory will not be buried up under federal, state, county elections. Yes, there will be some, because that's the way we've been trained. Push the whole ticket and get out of the polls. But if you don't think that's crazy, just look at the way we live now. And one thing is for sure, and I just wanted to say this, I wish I had a shoestring just to be able to show you what happens when we play politics and it's tug of war. If both parties are strong, it's stuck. If one party on one end, one party on the other end, they tug, we get nowhere. When one party is stronger, what's tug of war? When you can pull the weaker link. And now, because you pull them, those are the ones that are bruised, broken, beaten up, and battered. That's why I just believe if we as a people want to get the voters out, we should, by all means, what we've always been taught, continue on teaching voter education. And for me, I don't want a Republican or a Democrat voting whether I have clean water or I have sufficient sewage system. I want to be able to come to a city council and my leaders are voting because they know what's best for the city. So I invite you, those of you who are one party or the other, register as unaffiliated and then go by and see how each individual may really support your convictions. Because other than that, for whatever reason, where we are is not working.
And, to speak to the people choosing not to go out and vote, I'll speak for myself that I'm in a pretty good situation that I can get up and I can decide if I want to go vote. I can decide, I don't have, a strict schedule and a job that I can't leave and things like that, but there are people who do. And I can't assume that everybody has the freedom and the privilege that I have to just go and vote whenever I want to or whenever the elections are held. And I think it's a mistake to assume. I read something today where somebody was mocking people who, they get confused about when the elections are and, off-year elections and things like that. They were mocking them. And, there's no room for that. There's people that are facing obstacles and challenges that we don't, that I don't. And if I can help them, if I can relieve some of those obstacles by consolidating this, and they only have to leave work or caring for their children, one time to go vote for everything, I think that helps. So that's my opinion.
Other comments? All right, so I ask the public when they come forth to speak to not duplicate what others have said. So I'm very confident that what my colleagues up here on council have said, I would be just duplicating a lot of what they have said. But I will say one thing. Hickory City Council and the City of Hickory has been an example for others to follow all the way back to 1913 when we adopted the city council manager form of government. And I think, and I may be biased, but we have set a great example, this council and councils before us, of hearing from the public, listening to the public, and having conversations with the public. And this particular matter has been handled in no different way than that. So you have been heard. Not everyone was able to make it here tonight. We have heard from others that weren't able to make it here tonight. We've heard those who were in favor, and we've heard from those who were opposed. The bottom line is we've been elected to make these types of decisions. And now that we've heard the information that's been presented to us, and we've also heard from members of the public, it is our duty to make a decision. So at this time, I am going to make the motion that we adopt the resolution as presented to our state legislators.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. I'll ask if there's any further discussion related to this vote. All right, there being no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, please say opposed. Okay, so the vote is 6 in favor and 1 opposed. All right. Once again, I'll call upon our city manager, Mr. Warren Wood, to introduce our second and final departmental report for this evening.
Second departmental report is the quarterly financial report that will be presented by Deputy City Manager and Chief Financial Officer Rodney Miller.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Mr. Wood, and Mr. Swanson. Tonight, I have the privilege of presenting the quarterly financial report consisting of the second quarter of our fiscal year, which covers through July 1st of 2025 through December 31st of 2025. Already halfway through the year. You may recall in December we heard from your auditors at Martin Starnes and Associates, which presented the annual audit for last fiscal year. So as I mentioned, we're halfway through the current fiscal year. On the screen is the reports for your general fund, which is the main operating fund of the city. You see in the middle column, annual budget, we have a little over $80 million budget in the general fund. In the current year, you see a little over $51 million in revenue compared to $48 million in expenditures spent and received through December 31st. And then on the far right-hand side of the screen, you see how that compares to last fiscal year. You will see in a couple later slides that our revenues are up through December 31st compared to last year. You'll also note on the expenditure side, we're about $500,000 higher than last fiscal year at this time, which is about 1%. The largest source of our general fund revenues are in the property tax. You'll see that's the increase I mentioned. I think last year at this time I mentioned that there was some concern about the difference between the two. There wasn't as much of a property tax increase. And in a later slide, you'll see all the development that's going around on town and that we've frankly experienced the last 3.5 years. I expected those revenues to increase as more commercial, industrial, residential property has come on board. I think we're starting to see the fruits of that labor, of that development now, because speaking of the county, I won't talk about elections, but Catawba County and Burke County collect our property taxes for us. So they have to list the property and assess the value for all the personal and real estate property that is in the city of Hickory. So I think those values, those homes, those businesses are now starting to be assessed by Catawba County. Therefore, the revenues that follow are now being shown up in our coffers. You see at the bottom of the screen, we have almost a $41 million budget in property tax revenue. So we're about 80% of the way through that, which is fairly normal through December 31st. By now, today, here at February 3rd, we have received the bulk of those revenues. By statute, those have to be received by Catawba County without penalty by that first week in January, which we've now received. I looked today, we need another day or two to get those reports from the county, but we will have the results of the January revenues, which is the bulk, well over 90% of the revenues for property tax that we will receive, that we've physically received, just not haven't been reported from the county. On the sales tax, that's our second largest source of revenue in the general fund. We have had a pretty good increase through December. I suspect that's mostly timing. I don't know that we'll receive 7% for the full year. You recall in that first bar of the chart, we had between 22 and 23, we had a significant increase. This was those internet sales, catalog sales, that finally got through the legislature, so that's already been cooked into the cake, so to speak. The rest of those increases really are those eating establishments, the shopping establishments, people spending money locally that cause that increase. Certainly, I expect that to increase. I'm not sure if it'll be 7% by the end of the year, but certainly we're in good position. As of November, this is only 5 months through the fiscal year. I just wanted to point that out. We get those funds from the Department of Revenue. It takes 45 days from the end of the month before we receive those. Obviously, we'll get December's on February 15th. So this chart only reflects 5 months of revenues. Here's the building permit activity that I referenced earlier. You'll notice that our residential permit numbers have declined, or at least not declined, but less than last year at this time. Almost 100 fewer permits. The commercial number of permits are about the same. I did want to point out, Mr. Woods made this point as well, and you see all this development. I don't want everyone to think that we have huge explosive growth. Through December, we have 180 new residential units of that 319 permits. So that's 180 homes. So if you double that, that's 360 homes. If you go 1.5 to 2 persons, you're in that 600 to 750 person population growth that we want and that we want to be able to absorb. So we're right there at that goal that City Council wants us to grow on that 1.5 to 2% clip. On the residential value side, you see with the lesser number of permits, those values and permits have gone down compared to last year, whereas it has been replaced by the commercial increase. You see we've had a healthy commercial value increase from last year to this year. Most of the chart is in the residential category. You see basically all the first 2 columns you'll see is residential development that are underway. That's site work that has started. With the exception of 111 Main, those last 2 at the bottom, 111 Main Avenue and Microsoft, we are waiting for that development to occur. We think in the next quarter that both of those projects will be up and running and hopefully will be going vertical. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, once you get past those first 3 residential projects, those are some of our commercial projects that are taking place. We're getting 2 Guthrie's chickens that are from out of state, but I've heard it's really good. I don't know how healthy it is for us, but it's good for us. It tastes really good. And then the Town Place Suites, which is under construction, I think their grand opening is in the coming days or weeks. So we'll be looking for that invitation for that project. For your water and sewer fund, remember this is funded by user fees alone. It is not funded by property taxes. You'll see there that we have had a considerable increase from last year, but if you'll recall, late last year, council approved the AMI meter project. That was about $8 million in city funds that we contributed towards that. So hence, that's the difference on the expenditure side between 19 and 27 of that $8 million project. And then the revenues associated with that are $26.6 million for a deficit of about $500,000 through December, which is fairly normal. Last year was somewhat of an anomaly, but we will make that up and when we get in the warmer months as people use more water this spring going into the summer. So I have no concerns about that number being a negative at this point. And then finally, the investments of the city funds. Here is a summary of those. I'm happy to report that we're still earning on average a 3.68% yield on the city's investments. As we have stressed over the years, we use the SLY method, SLY, safety first, liquidity second, and then yield third. We cannot invest in any stocks. There is a published list of investments that local governments like ourselves are able to invest in. I will say we are the 25th largest city in North Carolina out of 550 cities in North Carolina. Some people sometimes forget that. But being a larger city, we have more access to more funds, and those funds then provide more yield and interest in the form of a little over $2 million received in interest income through the first 6 months. Those are the description of our investments you see there below: commercial paper, U.S. government agencies, and treasuries. Right now, we are a little heavy in the local government investment pools. There are 3 in North Carolina that we can invest in. But the primary reason for that is our property tax revenues have come in all at once here in December and January. So we will split out some of those funds in the investment pools into the other investments over the coming months. That's my report for this evening. I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Rod, what is our current fund balance?
That is a great question, to which I don't have the answer. It's not in my report.
It's just north of 30%.
Our available fund balance, your goal is 25%. At the audit, it was 31%, June 30th. We don't run fund balance calculations typically throughout the year, but I can get you that number after December. But as Mr. Wood said, it's probably a little north of that because our revenues, as you saw on that first slide, were higher than our expenditures. So in simple math, it would be $3 million higher than it was on July 1st. So that would be probably 31.5%, 32%.
Thank you.
I had previously asked about the difference between property taxes and I think Mr. Wood mentioned that there's a lag in property taxes. Are we expecting an uptick in sales of single-family homes? I mean, it seems to me the bulk of the properties that are being built, or a large number, are rental properties.
Whether they're rental or owner-occupied, they're still the same value. So the Catawba County Tax Office assesses those values and those in Burke County. I do think there will be an influx of property values because just from the developments that I listed on the screen, you can see, for example, the Hamptons 340 single-family dwellings. They were, last we checked, less than 100 because they have not provided a second entrance into that development. So once you trigger 99 homes, you have to have a second entrance. So there's 240 plus homes that still are going to be built over at the Hamptons. Similarly, the same thing is over at the other projects. Cool Park is brand new. There's not a single-family development on the Cool Park subdivision that has made the tax base. So I could go down probably a half dozen of those projects you see on the screen that haven't even started.
Roddy, if you go back to that property tax slide.
Yes.
So you can see the trains coming into the station, it didn't last, so we had a lot of building permitting, $250 million a year for the last 3 years. We were surprised it didn't come in. It took it 6 months longer to come. You can see we're $3.2 million higher this year at this point than we were last year. So it is coming in and it is increasing.
So what do you say, the difference between 24 and 25 is about $1.2 million. This difference between the last year is $3.1 million. So the values have increased.
And there's just a lag.
That answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. Yes, sir.
The commercial permits are basically even, but the value of those permits is there's about a $20 million difference. Is there a big project that accounts for that big difference?
I think in this particular instance, that would be American Fuji Seal has pulled their permit.
Okay.
So that's the expansion over at Trivium Park.
Yeah.
That would be one of those.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll also add, there's not 118 new commercial projects that we've seen in 2026. A lot of those also are additions or enhancements.
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw there's probably a dozen or so that are brand new commercial projects.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Miller? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. I'll ask if any member of council has any appointments they would like to make this evening to our vacancies on boards and commissions. Doesn't appear to be any. If you're interested in any of the vacancies that are listed, please, you can further research those on the city's website, or you can always have conversations with your council person and decide if that's something that you would be interested in being appointed to. Matters not on the agenda.
Yes, sir.
All right, general comments.
I have one. I just want to say thank you to the public services for clearing our streets and taking care of us, also the fire and police who had to work through people that just had to get out and drive and have wrecks. They had to rescue them, and we appreciate all that you do. Thank you.
And I appreciate the working together, the teamwork that went on. I know a lot of Will Hamlin's guys in utilities helped out Steve's guys and vice versa. And Will's guys had water line breaks, and it was in the teens. And then Steve on the sanitation side, we got behind, 2 storms worth of sanitation routes, and they're caught up. So they've been doing double time left and right, pushing snow, trash, water lines, and everything else. So yes, thank you.
It has been nice to see that I've had so many compliments of our public services and everything that was done, and then to see people get on Facebook, like Mr. Wood alluded to, Facebook comments. I can't get out of my drive. I'm expecting a pair of shoes I need to wear. Really crazy stuff that if we really think how blessed we are to have all of our services. Thank you.
I'd like to lift up that we are in the first week of Black History Month, and I know that there are several events going on throughout this month. I want to lift up on the 4th Sunday of February, Morning Star and Clinton Tabernacle will be joining together at 12 p.m., which is a Sunday, and that's if Reverend Roberts gets out his service on time. But that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. That starts at 12, and we will be serving a free meal to the community as well.
All right. Any further comments or information that you'd like to share for the good of the public? I want to thank each and every one of you for being here and participating in our meeting tonight. And at this time, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. We stand adjourned.